Hi everyone, Max here for the Burly Box, and today we are going to take a look at a pretty distinctive game called VirtuaVerse. Stay tuned because we are going to take a more in-depth look into where it does well and where it falls short. Also, we are going to take a look into the subtext or throwback to any 80s technologies or PC subcultures that you are exposed to in this game. So without any further ado, let's go with the in-depth review of VirtuaVerse. First of all, let's talk about the setting and story of the game. The world of VirtuaVerse is set in the not-so-distant future, where the majority of humanity is constantly connected to AVR or augmented reality. As babies, humans are implanted with a chip that permanently connects them to this new technological way of life. There are, however, a few citizens that rejected this way of life and rebel against the system. Those people claim that AVR has created a world where people are more and more disconnected from reality and from one another. And rightfully so, the average citizen that is permanently connected to AVR only sees what is presented to them through their chip and never sees what the real world really looks like. Since this new system was put in place, authorities began to destroy and ban any old technologies to prevent people from going off the network where the police cannot track them. So these groups of irreducible rebels hoards those few remaining old technologies to be able to communicate and coordinate with one another without being tracked and hunted down. So it is in this cyberpunk dystopia that the story begins. It begins simply with a protagonist called Nathan, and he is one of the few that hasn't been implanted with the AVR chip and can instead turn augmented reality on and off. So our hero awakes one day to his shabby, cramped apartment where he finds that his AVR lens are broken, and his girlfriend has left during the night with the only explanation written hastily in a cryptic message in lipstick in the mirror of his bathroom. Now Nathan is one of those citizens that has rejected this new way of life and makes a living by repairing, creating and smuggling old tech and software. So this is how the game begins. Nathan is concerned about his girlfriend and wants to find her. It is an adventure that will lead him to the ends of the earth and beyond, where he will meet a plethora of CD characters, taggers, hacker groups, robots and AIs. So now let's take a look at the gameplay mechanics of the game. VirtuaVerse mechanics rely entirely on the style of the point-and-click adventures that were prevalent in the mid-80s to the end of the 90s. It is still a game mechanic used today, but it isn't as widely used as it was back in those times. You can think of any major games like King Quest, Quest for Glory, The Secret of Monkey Island, and Leisure Suit Larry to name a few. Most of those games find its source into the text-based adventure type, but as the mouse became more readily available amongst PC owners, the point-and-click adventure replaced it. Text-based adventures were then considered slow and sluggish after that. So mainly, you are showed a scene like this one here, and you have to interact with the background with your mouse and usually solve puzzles to advance the narrative. In this case, it is completely serviceable and find no bugs or difficulties using it. With that being said, most of the puzzles in this game are so complicated and convoluted that they even sometimes appear to be illogical. There are times where I could see 50 different solutions better than the one the game rigidly expects the player to do. This is what we would refer to in the golden days of the point-and-click adventures to moon logic. Moon logic was prevalent in any point-and-click adventure to different degrees to create artificial difficulty and give the sense that the game is longer and harder than it really is. In this case, it isn't game breaking or anything, but don't expect to breeze through this game without banging your head against the wall a few hours to get it right. My only advice to you is to pay very close attention to the decor and the dialogue. It will make it a bit easier. And I emphasize on a bit. Next, there is the visuals. The style of this game can be described as a cyberpunk-esque low-resolution 8-bit graphics extravaganza that will deeply plunge the player into this dystopian world where reality and fiction are inextricably linked. All of the graphics and animation in this game are stellar. They are presented in as being living in dark and gloomy world, but yet the color palette leans heavily on pink and purple colors. The repeating color palette gives a unified structured quality to the visuals of the game. May you find yourself in a megalopolis, a jungle, or even under the sea, the beauty of the visuals are reflected in the intricate details that were worked in by the artists. Every scene is carefully crafted and brings a unique atmosphere, in part by the duality of both the cold, messy truth of real life or the neon-infused cacophony of the augmented reality. But when you couple those visuals with the music, this is where the game really comes alive. One without the other wouldn't have made such a vibrant and meaningful world for us to explore. The entire score for this game was composed by a very talented artist, aptly named Master Boot Record. I've made a little research into the artist. Here is how he describes himself on the Bandcamp website. I am a 486DX 33 MHz 64 MB processing avant-garde chiptune synthesized heavy metal and classical symphonic music. 100% synthesized, 100% dehumanized. Needless to say that this description is a definite match for what this game needed to make it unforgettable. The original soundtrack by Master Boot's Record is a tour de force that by itself makes this game at least worth to play, stay a while and get immersed into the beautifully crafted world by the developers of the game, while being subtly rocked to the sound of this masterful soundtrack. Here, let's listen to some of it. I must say that the soundtrack was so good that I even bought it. With all of that being said, I must talk about the themes that this game touches. This game makes frequent references to the PC art subculture that was prevalent in the 80s and 90s. Not to say that it has completely disappeared today, but this game takes us back to a time where the coders and crackers that would remove copy protection on games and software would consider themselves first and foremost artists. As they would crack games and software, they would insert demos animation that would run when the cracked game was launched. This type of subculture is called the demo scene, and I was one of the PC enthusiasts that was witness to this golden age where coders and artists were merged into groups that would constantly challenge themselves to create innovative PC art, may it be demos, ASCII and NC art, and of course, music. During the course of the game, at one point the hero gets to watch one of those old-style demos that took me back to my younger days where I would watch the Future Crow demo second reality as if for the first time. Also, needless to say that this game exposes us to the old tech of the 80s and 90s, which can bring back nostalgia-fueled memories to an old PC enthusiast like myself. In conclusion, this game is not perfect, but not by very far. Most of the parts of this game are masterfully integrated to create a unique experience that should be tried by at least old PC owners like myself. While the story of the game is fairly intricate, a good amount of old 80s and 90s subcultures is disseminated here and there to create a unified structure to the game. Add to that an original score that makes us connect to all of it to a deeper level, makes this game, in my opinion, a must-try to any gamer that appreciates PC art, music, and its history. Also a must-buy to anyone that appreciates the cyberpunk genre, but be warned, those puzzles will test your patience and you must enter this journey with that in mind. Alright, I thank you for watching. I surely hope that you liked the video, and if you did, leave us a like, drop us off a comment. We always love to exchange with you guys. Also, consider subscribing. It always helps us a lot and makes us very happy. With that being said, we love you all and have a great day.